one with the taste of iron on her tongue. Her name was Clara Hayes, daughter of a Boston geologist, 24 years old and lost somewhere in the heart of Wyoming. She had followed a trail of silver dust too far from camp. Now she was alone with nothing but the sound of her own heartbeat and the echo of coyotes in the distance. The sun had burned her skin raw. Sweat and dirt stung every open scrape. When she tried to stand, pain shot through her hip and she fell back against a fallen pine. Her breath broke in shallow gasps. The forest smelled of resin and blood. A branch cracked behind her. The sound froze her blood cold. She turned her head and saw the shape of a man on horseback. Dust hung around him like smoke. His shadow stretched across the trunk she clung to. He looked carved from the same earth that tried to bury her. He stepped down slow. His boots crushed the needles underfoot. No words. Only silence thick as thunder. He reached for her arm. She flinched, her eyes wide, her body shaking, torn between fear and desperate need. Then she saw her side, blood running through torn fabric. The wound needed pressure or she would bleed out before nightfall. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "I took it off. Easy now." She pulled the torn fabric from her hip, trembling as air hit the wound. The man knelt beside her. He tore a strip from his coat and pressed it firm against her side. She bit down a cry. He didn't speak, only tightened the bandage until the bleeding slowed. The horse behind him snorted. A pack of wolves howled somewhere deep in the trees. Her vision blurred, but she saw his face then. Rough jaw, eyes too calm for a stranger who just saved her life. She wanted to ask who he was, but the words caught in her throat. He lifted her to her feet, steadying her by the shoulders. "Can you walk?" "I think so." "Then move." The forest closed around them as they staggered toward the light. Clara looked back once at the blood on the pine bark. If he hadn't appeared, she would have died there, nameless among the trees. But who was this man who saved her without asking why? And what kind of past leaves a man that silent? The cabin appeared out of nowhere, half hidden behind a wall of sage and burnt pine. The roof sagged like it was tired of holding on. Clara could barely stand, so the cowboy took her arm and guided her inside. The air smelled of smoke, whiskey, and something that clung to the walls like regret. He didn't ask her name, didn't ask what she was doing out there. He just pointed toward a wooden chair and said one word, "Sit." She sank down, dizzy from blood loss. The man crossed to a water barrel in the corner and filled a tin cup. When he handed it to her, his hand brushed hers. It was rough and warm, the kind of hand that had done hard work and worse things too. Clara took a sip, winced at the taste of iron and dirt, but kept drinking. It was the best water she had ever had. While she drank, he lit a small lamp. The lamp glow found an old rifle, a saddle, and a stack of wanted posters pinned together. Her breath caught when she saw the top one. The ink had faded, but she could still make out his face. Same eyes, same jaw, same man. He noticed her stare. For a second, the air between them froze. Then he walked over, tore the poster down, and dropped it in the foe. Flames ate through his own picture. He didn't explain. Didn't need to. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying the faint crackle of something burning far away. Clara looked toward the window and saw smoke on the horizon. "Wildfire?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not this time." He picked up a bucket, stepped outside, and checked the air like a man who could read danger by scent alone. Clara followed him out, clutching the door frame for balance, down the slope. The prairie glowed in the sunset, gold and red. Too dry to touch, the cowboy pointed toward it. "One spark," he said quietly, "and the whole range goes up." She didn't know if he was talking about the grass or about himself. He looked like a man made of dry tinder, one breath away from catching fire. He turned back to her, eyes calm, voice low. "You should rest. Morning's a long way off." She wanted to ask his name, to ask what he had done to end up alone out here. But she didn't. Something in his silence told her that every answer came with a price. As she lay on the cot, the last thing she saw was the glow of the burning horizon reflecting in his eyes. She closed hers, pretending to sleep. But her mind kept asking the same question. If that smoke wasn't wildfire, then what was coming for them in the dark? Clara woke to the sound of scratching. something small, something alive. She sat up too fast and pain shot through her side. The bandage was dark with dried blood, but the bleeding had stopped. The cabin was quiet except for the low crackle of the fire, and the cowboy was gone. His coat hung by the door, still dripping from dew. Outside, the sky was pale and empty, a soft gray before sunrise. Clara pulled herself to her feet and looked around. That was when she saw it. A small leather book sitting open on the table beside her chair. Its pages were yellow, and the edges curled like they had lived through storms. On the first page was a drawing of a mountain pass, and beside it, a name written in shaky ink. Cole Brennan. She mouthed it to herself, tasting the name like a secret. So that was his name. She turned another page. There were notes about caravans and weather and something about a lost convoy. Then the next line made her heart stop. Judge Morton ordered the gold buried near Red Hollow. He blamed me to cover his trail. Clara whispered the words out loud, barely believing them. The man who had saved her wasn't hiding from justice. He was hiding from a lie. When she heard the door creak, she slammed the book shut and turned around. Cole stood there, his eyes half tired, half knowing. Curiosity's a dangerous thing, he said. I wasn't prying, she answered. Sure you weren't. He poured coffee into 2 tin cups and handed her one. The smell was sharp, bitter, and comforting all at once. They sat at the small table in silence for a long time. Outside, smoke still drifted across the horizon. Finally, she asked, that fire last night, it wasn't natural, was it? Cole didn't answer right away. He stared out the window, jaw tight. They're burning the ridge, he said softly. Trying to smoke me out? Clara set her cup down slow. You mean the judge's men? He nodded. Morton won't stop until every trail leads back to me. He's got half the county thinking I killed a marshal. She looked at the book again, her voice low. Then why keep this? Why not run? Cole turned to her. Because the truth doesn't die if someone remembers it. Clara looked at him for a long moment, trying to read the man behind that calm voice. Maybe it wasn't just truth he was keeping alive. Maybe it was guilt, too. He looked like someone who had spent years talking to ghosts, trying to make peace with what could never be fixed. She wondered if every scar on his hands had a story he never told. You don't have to do this alone, she said quietly. He smiled without looking at her. Out here, everyone's alone. The trick is pretending you're not. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of wind pushing through the cracks in the wall. Clara felt something strange. Not fear, not pity. Something closer to trust. Outside, the smoke line grew thicker. Something bad was moving their way, and neither of them could pretend it wasn't coming anymore. So tell me, if you were in her place, would you stay or run? If you're still here with me, go ahead and tap that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Now grab your cup of tea, settle back, and tell me in the comments what time it is where you're listening from. By noon, the smoke had turned the sky the color of rust. The air was dry and heavy. Every breath tasted like ash. Cole stood outside the cabin, watching the ridge burn. Clara joined him. Her bandaged side pulling tight with every step. From there, they could see 3 riders moving fast across the valley floor. The dust behind them looked like a storm. They found us, Cole said quietly. He checked his revolver, spun the cylinder, and snapped it shut. Claire's heart hammered in her chest. Can we run? Not far, not fast. He nodded toward the old barn near the creek. Water's low, but the ground's still wet there. Fire won't cross easy. They hurried down the slope, boots sinking in the soft dirt. Cole slipped an arm around her waist, nearly lifting her off the ground. Every step sent a flash of pain through her hip, but she bit down hard, leaving a faint streak of blood on his shoulder. The barn leaned sideways, half burned from an older blaze. Inside, the air smelled of hay and iron. Cole pulled a crate open and took out a small pouch wrapped in cloth. Gold coins glimmered through the fabric. Clara stared at it. So it's true. You still have it. Cole met her eyes. Just enough to prove I never took the rest. The ground shook with the sound of horses closing in. Clara could see figures at the tree line now, faces hidden under hats, rifles gleaming. Cole loaded his weapon, every motion slow and sure. He handed her a second revolver. Do you know how to use it? She swallowed hard. My father taught me to shoot tin cans, not people. Same idea, Cole muttered. Her hands shook as she raised the gun. Then she fired. The bullet kicked up dirt in front of her rider. His horse reared, screaming. Cole glanced at her and gave a single nod. Good enough. The first shot came from the ridge. Wood splintered beside her head. Cole returned fire, the echo bouncing off the rocks. 2 men fell. The rest circled wide, shouting over the roar of flames spreading across the plain. Clara tried to breathe through the smoke. Wind roared down the valley, flipping the fire toward them. For a heartbeat, it looked like the creek might hold. Then the gust changed. Steam rose where the flames met the wet ground, buying them 30 seconds of mercy before the blaze leapt the water line. White steam curled off the bank, dampening the grass just long enough to matter. Cole grabbed the pouch of gold and looked at her one last time. His voice was low but steady. If we stay, we burn. If we run, they'll follow. Then he did something she never expected. He grabbed a rock from the creek bed and smashed the pouch against it once, twice. The coins cracked open, some split, others bent. He tore the cloth, flung the broken pieces into the rushing water. Gold sank fast, swallowed by the current. The last piece slipped between his fingers, sinking slow beneath the ripples. Now it's gone for good, he said quietly. Gold won't buy us air. What are you doing? She cried, ending it. He kicked open the barn door and motioned for her to get on the horse. The flames closed in behind them, the sky turning black with smoke. When the wind shifted, the fire roared like a living thing. Cole looked back at the burning gold and said under his breath, "Let them chase ghosts." The horse lunged blind through the smoke. Clara buried her face in Cole's back, coughing hard. Heat blistered her arms. The animal screamed once, stumbled, then found the far bank. They rolled into the ash, skin raw, lungs burning but alive. And behind them, the mountain burned like the world was ending. But something waited beyond that fire, something neither of them were ready for. By dawn, the fire had died. Smoke hung low over the valley, turning the air silver and cold. Cole and Clara stood by a stream that hadn't been there the night before. The ground still hissed where